So in a way, Raksha Bandhan is to cultivate the qualities that make for our ultimate protection and security. And a person who has that confidence that, yes, I have done my best to uphold higher values. I may have failed, but I have put in that effort to uphold certain values and I've lived by them. Has that sense of fearlessness. Abhayam is a quality of spiritual development, which is fearlessness. Yep. You're not afraid of anything because you know you have this backing of your own karma. If your karma is good, nothing in the world can destroy you. And by the same token, if your karma is bad, nothing in the world can protect you. Yep. So when you understand Raksha or protection in that context, then you understand that this is what I need to build. Yeah. Not my material assets, but my spiritual assets.
Namaste and welcome to this episode of our show on the Bhagavad Gita with Srimati Jaya Row, renowned teacher of Vedanta and also my mother. I'm your host, Ajay. So Jayaji, Raksha Bandhan is around the corner and I thought it would be a good idea for us to understand the symbolism of the festival and also its spiritual significance. So, if you could just explain that for us, then I think what it will do is help us understand the why we do what we do, right? I think a lot of the time in our Indian traditions, we tend to do things, but don't understand the why of what we do. And I feel like the new generation and even, all of us, right? I think it's important for us to understand why we do what we do, why we celebrate these festivals, because there's a lot of depth and meaning in each one of them that we're currently missing right now. So I think that's the purpose of this.
Yes. So let's start with the background. It is reputed to be started by the story of Krishna and Draupadi. So apparently once Krishna injured himself and Draupadi immediately tore a part of her sari and bandaged the wound. And at that time, Krishna was so moved by it that he pledged that he gave her a promise that I will help you whenever you need me. So this was the starting of a sibling relationship and the purity of intent in that relationship, which we need to continue. And then when Draupadi was disrobed in open parliament by the Kauravas, and learned people like Bhishma, Dronacharya and all, they couldn't do anything. Her own husbands didn't help. And she had no choice but to appeal to Krishna. And at that time, everyone knows the story, the sari never stopped. And so her honor was retained. Ever since then, this Raksha Bandhan or the bond of protection came into being, where the sister ties a rakhi to the brother and gives a gift. And the brother in turn gives a gift back and gives the promise that I will take care of you. Now, this is not just a bond of protection, it is an endorsement of the Sakhya Bhava. So in devotion, in bhakti, there's supposed to be 5 bhavas. So one is, the lowest is protected to the protector. So you look upon God as the protector and you appeal to God to protect. And then it becomes closer and closer. So it becomes then Sakhya Bhav, where you treat God as a friend. It becomes more intimate, like you share good things with the friend, you are open with the friend, you don't keep any secrets. Even if you make a mistake, you tell the friend that. It's, you are free with the friend. And Arjuna and Krishna were like that. And most of all, it is purity of love, where it's not conditional to any return. And I think this kind of relationship is exemplified in Sudama and Krishna. So now this is based on uprightness, righteousness, higher values, where you rise above differences at a lower level and prioritize the relationship itself, which nowadays is not happening. Perhaps because of increased selfishness, increased self-centeredness, and this, as a result of that, you demand things from the other person, which you yourself are not delivering. So, therefore, their families are breaking up, siblings are no longer as close as they used to be. And so, Raksha Bandhan has become a ritual where you do things and you may feel at a surface level for your sibling, but it doesn't arise from the depth of unconditional love. And I think we need to reinforce that.
So how do we reconnect with? So yes, we may be on the face of it tying the Rakhi, but how do we reconnect with the spirit of Raksha Bandhan?
See, first of all, the background. Raksha Bandhan comes on the last day of the month of Shravan.
Okay.
So Shravan is a month of austerities, of worship, of prayer. And Shravan Purnima, it's called Raksha Bandhan, signifies the festivities, the festive season that follows. And this is based on the fact that we are celebrating the love that we have for not just siblings, but the entire family gets together, they celebrate together. And so it's a joyful occasion. So you are kind of reinforcing the values that lead to this joy and cheer within the family. Nowadays, people have begun to understand that this loneliness comes because of a lack of connect with the larger family, with the community, with with the countrymen maybe, because of which we are experiencing loneliness. And people say it's because of technology. Yes, pace of life has become faster, so you probably meet them less often, but there's no reason not to feel it. And I think that feeling needs to be reinforced. That it's not just about tying a Rakhi or getting a gift. It's about rekindling that feeling of love and affection that we have for each other and keeping that as the foundation. So then thereafter in the relationship, even if little differences come up or, little areas of conflict always come up between two individuals, we should say, let this be, let's rise above it and enforce that, or not enforce, rekindle the basis of the relationship, which is love, acceptance. It feels good that you have a family that you can depend on,
Yeah.
God forbid you may never have to depend on them for anything, but it just feels good. And today, because we have become so particular about this is what I want, we are unable to connect. And that is having a negative impact.
So I guess Raksha Bandhan is a reminder of that, right?
Yes.
That need to connect with others. I think operate from each other's strengths rather than focusing on each other's, weaknesses or faults. And I feel like if you connect at the strength level, then you're able to ignore what the weaknesses and all of those are, right?
Yes. It's like when you give priority to the family itself, that the family bond gets priority over everything else. Then you look at each other's faults as an amusement. It's amusing to have different people with different traits, different
Personalities.
personalities. And then it becomes a humorous thing. When the family gets together, you laugh at each other's weaknesses.
Yeah. Or quirks.
Quirks, yes, that's it. It becomes a joyful occasion.
So, Jayaji, when it comes to the Raksha aspect of it, the protection, what does it mean? Only just physical protection? What exactly does that stand for?
Yeah, that's a good question. See, in the end, that which gives you the highest level of protection is your own karma. Because however much someone else might help you or protect you, in the end, it is you, your character, your personality that stands by you. And so if you don't have that, then everything crumbles. So in a way, Raksha Bandhan is to cultivate the qualities that make for our ultimate protection and security. And a person who has that confidence that, yes, I have done my best to uphold higher values. I may have failed, but I have put in that effort to uphold certain values and I've lived by them. Has that sense of fearlessness. Abhayam is a quality of spiritual development, which is fearlessness.
Yep.
You're not afraid of anything because you know you have this backing of your own karma. If your karma is good, nothing in the world can destroy you. And by the same token, if your karma is bad, nothing in the world can protect you.
Yeah.
So when you understand Raksha or protection in that context, then you understand that this is what I need to build.
Yeah.
Not my material assets, but my spiritual assets.
So I think that's some really interesting points for us to remember when we celebrate the festival. So, yeah. So with that, shall we now move on to resume our study of the Gita?
Sure.
We'll begin with the invocation.
Om Sahanavavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
So we were on chapter 4 and we're now on verse 4. So we listen to the chanting now.
Arjuna uvacha aparam bhavato janma param janma vivasvataha kathametad vijaniyam tvamadau proktavaniti.
So in verse 4, Arjuna says, your birth was later, Vivasvan's birth earlier. How then should I understand that you taught this in the beginning?
Yes. So Arjuna has.
So what is he referring to now?
He is referring to the previous verse,
Okay.
in which Krishna says, he establishes, you remember the Guru Shishya Parampara.
Yeah.
He says, I taught Vivasvan, Vivasvan taught Manu, Manu taught Ikshvaku, and thus the whole chain was established. And due to long course of time, it's got destroyed in a way. So Arjuna takes it as Krishna saying that I, means the personality of Krishna, taught Vivasvan. Now Vivasvan was born much earlier.
Yeah.
And Krishna is there in front of Arjuna. So the question arises, how could you have taught Vivasvan? But that is the basic misunderstanding that all of us make. And so in this question, he is the clarification of all religious seekers, which is when a prophet uses the word I or me, he means Atman, spirit. Because to an enlightened person, nothing else exists.
Yeah.
Whereas when we look at it, because we are kind of anchored to the body, mind and intellect, we misinterpret it to be the personality of the prophet. And it is on this one misunderstanding that there have been the maximum number of battles between people.
Yeah.
And even among us, we have this tendency to look at it as the personality of not just a prophet, but even the guru or anyone. We get carried away by the physical, emotional, and intellectual, whereas what we should be looking at is the principle that the person is talking about. And does that appeal to me? Does that apply to me? How can I apply it in my life and improve? This should be our focus. That is why Swami Ramatirtha said, don't look at the life of the teacher. Look at the teachings. Then you can never go wrong.
Yeah.
No? This is his question. And then comes later the answer of Krishna's, which is so... he doesn't even answer the question directly. He just gives a different perspective in the next verse.
So we'll move on to verse 5. We listen to the chanting.
श्रीभगवानुवाच बहूनि मे व्यतीतानि जन्मानि तव चार्जुन तान्यहं वेद सर्वाणि न त्वं वेत्थ परन्तप.
In verse 5, Lord Krishna says, "You and I have passed through many births, O Arjuna. I know them all. You do not know, O Parantapa, scorcher of foes."
Yeah, so he's referring to the fact that we are restricted to just the present. Our knowledge is restricted to just the present. And even within the present, there's very little we know. And so, based on this little knowledge that we have, we make judgment on the whole thing. And so, you are likely to be wrong. And most of us are wrong because of that. And Krishna, in this question of Arjuna's, is trying to correct a whole misunderstanding. And which is that we have conditioned knowledge, which is we have knowledge of certain things. We have knowledge of sight, sound, perception. We have knowledge of emotions, like I am happy, I am sad, whatever. We have knowledge of intellectual concepts. But we don't have pure knowledge. Because the moment you say, I know, immediately you say, of what? What do you know? So this unconditional knowledge is what Krishna is referring to. Arjuna is referring to conditioned knowledge. So in that, he is trying to tell us that pure consciousness is that power with which all living beings are conscious of, aware of, whatever it is that they are aware of. Not only in the present, in the past and future. So pure consciousness is all-pervading. It's the power that enables an earthworm to know what it knows, a bird to know what it knows, and us to know what we know. But by its very definition, conditioned knowledge is restricted. So our starting point should be, I don't know. And then that becomes the crucible to gain knowledge. Now, if you start with a feeling like Arjuna in this question, saying, I know, then you get questions, you get doubts, which can never be resolved unless you go back to the basics and say, I don't know. And it's a very important aspect of human life itself, that in life we must always carry the concept that I don't know. You know, an interesting thing came up in science recently where a scientist is saying that, let's say you see, the light has to travel to your eye. So it takes time for the light to travel to you. Then that impulse is connected to the brain and the brain takes time to interpret it. By the time you say, I know, it's gone. So what you know has already happened. It's past.
Yeah.
So you don't really know. He even talks about, like we touch the table and we say this is solid. And science tells us that atoms are space. So what are you touching? You're not touching anything. And so therefore, even scientifically, this concept of Maya and Mithya, illusion, is being reinforced because he says our experiences are all illusory.
Yeah.
So, to base a whole life on illusory things is the most ridiculous thing to do. And actually, when you think about it, think about this conditioned consciousness and what must be pure consciousness. You begin to become objective in life. So you may never know the truth. You may never know pure consciousness or get to that state of awakening. But at least you will carry that suspicion that maybe all that I'm experiencing has no reality really. And so why am I getting unnecessarily involved? So that aspect of objectivity is spiritual. Like an awakened person, an enlightened person is 100% objective. We, on the other hand, are totally involved. So somewhere we've got to rise to a level of objectivity where you are not affected by what's happening in the world around you. Because you understand it for what it is. You understand a child will be mischievous. You understand a teenager will be, whatever he is. You understand an uneducated person will be what it is. So you have no expectation. And therefore you accept everything in the world. But then you will say, then what should I do? You do your karyam karma. That's what Krishna says in the Gita. You do what you have to do. Just as a bird sings, it's born to sing, so it does that. A flower gives fragrance. A peacock dances. So also we should do what we ought to do with this objectivity. And it's such a fabulous concept. The more you think about it, the more you kind of become aware, you become objective, and yet you participate in the world wholeheartedly. So it's not as if you're sitting there and saying, oh, I'm objective.
Yeah.
That is indifference. That's not objectivity. Objective is where you do what you have to do powerfully, wholeheartedly, 100%, knowing fully well it does not matter.
Isn't it a bit paradoxical because you're asking us to be, fully giving it everything, whatever it is that we're involved in, but yet being indifferent to it. It's almost like if I'm indifferent, why would I act in a sense, or wouldn't it make me a bit robotic or appear cold to others? Because I think sometimes people on the spiritual path sometimes veer to that side and then say, you know what, I'm a spiritual person, so why do I need to react to things like this? How do we balance the two?
Yeah, see, it's like this. An actor plays a certain role and he decides that because it is a certain role, I will live the kind of life that that person lived. If he's doing a biopic, for instance. So he goes to that extent and then gives of himself 100%. He gets into the role and plays it fully, knowing that it's meaningless.
Yeah.
You know? And it is then that he conveys to the audience. The audience is touched. Sometimes the audience is in tears. They're so moved by it. But the actor remains 100% objective. So that is it. It is what we refer to as dispassionate passion. Disinterested interest. And if you understand that concept, how you can get there, it's a fabulous thing. It's very entertaining because you are in it and yet you're out of it.
Yeah.
You're in it, you're participating in it, even emotionally, you're giving of yourself, you're feeling the emotion, but you're unaffected. So it's a difficult concept.
Yeah, it's a fine balance. Right?
Yeah. We need to think about it and we need to apply it in life.
And keep on recalibrating. Because,
Yeah, and give ourselves examples.
yeah, because you tend to go to one side and then you kind of come back and then you swing the other way and then it's like, I guess the amplitude of that oscillation keeps on
Yeah. It's
reducing.
somewhat like how you interact with a child. You know, a child comes home from school and says, I hate this friend because she was mean to me. Now, you don't sit there and say, oh, really? You say, yeah, what did she do? So you are involved in what the child is narrating,
Yeah.
which is what makes the child interact with you, because the child knows you understand. And yet within yourself, you know it. Tomorrow the child will go and make friends with the same person. No? It's so transitory. So that is what they say. You feast with the kings, you feel for the poor, you participate in the sorrow of a person who's lost a loved one, and all that you do objectively. And yet you're not faking it, you actually feel it.
Moving on to verse 6, we'll listen to the chanting.
अजोऽपि सन्नव्ययात्मा भूतानामीश्वरोऽपि सन् प्रकृतिं स्वामधिष्ठाय सम्भवाम्यात्ममायया.
In verse 6, Lord Krishna says, though unborn, of imperishable nature, and also Lord of beings, governing my own prakriti, matter, I take birth by my own maya, illusion.
Yes. So, because Arjuna asked this question, now Krishna has moved back to Atman from his personality. And he's trying to explain to all of us and to Arjuna, what is the nature of Atman? Now, this is very difficult because there is no communication actually. It's like the dreamer and the waker trying to communicate.
It's impossible.
Yeah. And yet, he does such a brilliant job. All the scriptures do such a brilliant job because they use certain terms. It's like in geometry, you say point A is 5 inches from, the unknown point X is 5 inches from A, 7 inches from B, and maybe 3 inches from C. So what you have to do is keep drawing arcs. And where the arcs meet is your unknown point X. That's exactly what he's doing. He's giving us pointers, and with these pointers, you go up to a point. And then you can't go any further, so you drop it and go to another pointer. And then somewhat where all the points meet, you get some vague idea of what it must be. So when he says unborn, where there is no birth means no death, means no change. So Atman or consciousness is the changeless entity upon which all the changes take place. In fact, you can recognize change only against a changeless background. So that's one pointer. Imperishable nature. Everything in the world perishes. Because there is a birth, there's a death. Whereas the substratum is imperishable. And Lord of all beings. Because it is pure consciousness that enables all of us to do whatever it is that we're doing. So in the end, it is supreme. Without it, none of us can function.
Yeah.
And yet, it's so important and it's everywhere in our lives that we don't even see it. Governing my own prakriti. So, when he says my prakriti means matter or prakriti is not different from spirit. There are no two things, there's only one. But because we see prakriti, he's saying governing my own prakriti. I take birth by my own maya. So the birth is because of vasanas. Vasana itself is maya, is ignorance.
Yeah.
So it's a very, very subtle verse that he's referring to. And I think in the next few verses, he gives indications of Atman. What we have to do as seekers is bring it down to our level and try and look for things that are constant in life. Like, for instance, wealth comes and goes, but relationships are more permanent.
Yeah.
Things like that. We must weigh things with reference to what remains with us. And in fact, like, much of the wealth that we all have, whatever it is that we have, whether it's a lower middle class person or an extremely wealthy person, we never use the wealth that we have. And then we die. So the wealth moves on to somebody else. But for that, I'm willing to give up a relationship. I'm willing to fight with people. So this gives an indication of how to live, of imperishable nature, and also Lord of beings. We must give a hierarchy to our own life and go as far as we can conceive and abide by that. So once you understand this, first of all, when you look at this verse, immediately your mind is taken off all the little petty things that are bothering us. And that's a huge relief.
Yeah. And even here, when he says, I take birth by my own maya or illusion. So, what he's saying is that it's only when you don't have knowledge of your completeness that desires and vasanas desires, and therefore your personality arises, right? Otherwise, where is the question?
Yes. So the whole thing, our whole existence itself is based on ignorance. So once you gain knowledge, all this fades, all this goes away. That's why continuously he says, there is no more birth. So it is not death that bothers them, because every one of us has to die.
Yeah.
It's the rebirth that causes the problem. We, on the other hand, celebrate birth and mourn death.
Yeah. Okay, so we're towards the end of today's show. Are there some key takeaways that you would like to leave us with?
Yes, we started with the very vibrant, colorful, and happy occasion of Raksha Bandhan, where it all started from, what it really means, and how we can live these principles of dharma and righteousness that will give us the ultimate protection. And then we move to chapter 4, where Arjuna asks Krishna, your birth was later and Vivasvan's was earlier, so how do you say that you taught Vivasvan? And the explanation to that is Krishna is, when he says I taught, he means Atman. So whoever had got to enlightenment at that time taught Vivasvan. And so it goes down the line from Guru to Shishya. And he explains this, that the difference between pure consciousness and conditioned consciousness, that we all know only the present. We don't know the past and the future. So our knowledge is very limited. And then he moves on to directly give pointers to Atman, which are, as we discussed, we bring it down to our level and see to what extent we can apply them. But also, per se, it gives you that feeling of freedom from your own hang-ups and prejudices and all this that goes on, that gives us stress.
Yeah, and that one important point that you made about taking to life as an actor takes to the stage, right? I think if we approach life with that attitude, then it kind of becomes a little bit easier to deal with, all the wild swings that we experience. And there's so much loss. On the one hand, there's so much loss and illness and difficulties that we face on the one hand, and on the other hand, there's so many joys and triumphs and good experience that we have. So being able to appreciate both, and then I think it gives you a sense of centeredness, a sense of balance to enjoy life, right?
Actually, it gives you uninterrupted joy. Like, it doesn't matter whether an actor goes through illness or poverty or good things of life.
Yeah.
He enjoys every role that he plays because of that objectivity.
Yeah, I mean, can you really enjoy it? I mean, I think maybe enjoyment is not doesn't sound like the right word, right? You're able to go through the experience, like I'm saying, for example, the loss of a loved one. You can't be. I don't think anyone would always and ever associate enjoyment with that experience. But I think it gives you the sense of balance to say this is the nature of life, and that's how things go, right?
Yes, this is the intermediate state.
Yeah.
What we are talking about is like if you understand what the actor goes through, just identify with the actor.
Yeah.
The actor is not affected by the poverty of the role that he plays or the loss that he has gone through
Yeah.
or that deception of a lover or whatever it is that the actor goes through.
Yeah.
He's 100% unaffected. And he enjoys every role that he plays.
Yeah.
Why? Because he knows I am the actor, different from the role that I'm playing. Similarly, now if you project it onto us,
Yeah.
if we understand that I am Atman playing different roles, then you get 100% unaffected and you enjoy every role.
Yeah.
But when you view it from our standpoint, like you said, oh, how can I enjoy a loss of a loved one? You don't understand it till you get to that, till you shift your identification to Atman. And then you say, it's like a dream. The waker is not affected by anything that happens in the dream,
Yep.
provided he knows he's the waker.
Yeah. True.
So it's a very difficult concept, but that is what really gives us, number one, strength to bear with whatever is happening in the world. Number two, happiness. And then you have the right relationship with everybody. You have no problem.
Yeah.
Like Krishna in his entire life, he had no problems with anyone. But he played his role perfectly.
Yeah.
So as a lover, he played his role well. As a person who had to protect himself, he killed his own uncle, Kamsa. So every role that he played perfectly. Yet he was completely detached.
Yeah. I think some subtle thoughts for us to grapple with for the coming week. With that, we've come towards the end of the show. Shall we end with the invocation?
Yes. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
All right. So I know that today's episode may have been kind of heavy in moments at times, but I think the nature of spiritual study is to dive deep, understand the nuances, and I think today is one of those episodes where we've done that, along with understanding the meaning of Raksha Bandhan. I hope that when you celebrate Raksha Bandhan, it lends some deeper meaning to your celebrations. So with that, we've come to the end of today's episode. We hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you soon in a week. Enjoy time, and see you soon. Bye.